So today I'm going to be doing the class about extending your food shelf life. You can go to the next one. This is just an agenda, so introduction, expiration dates, food storage, temperature danger zone, time and temperature control, extending your shelf life, and then we'll have a little activity Q&A session.
Okay.
I'm Tara Higgins. I'm a dietetic intern doing my community rotation here at PRC. I'm getting my master's in nutrition science at Dominican University right now, and this is just part of my program. Then if you two just want to introduce yourself real quick, just names is okay.
Oh,
We
yeah.
already know you.
Yeah.
My name's Mary Hill.
Nice to meet you.
You don't know me.
Yeah,
It might be.
that was all that. Okay, these are just some quick introductory questions. If you don't know the answers, we could just skip it, okay? So can you explain what the sell-by date is used for on your food? And those are just examples.
I think it's just so they invite you to throw it out and buy new.
You're kind of on the right path.
There's a lot of stuff that's good for a week or two, even a month, depending. My
Yeah,
refrigerator is cold, so everything just about freezes in there, so.
yeah, you're on the right track with that one. And we'll go to the next one. And then, do either of you know what the acronym FIFO stands for and
No.
why it's used?
No.
I have never used it before. I've never seen
Yeah, we'll skip that one. All these you're going to learn throughout the presentation.
it. Okay.
And then it says 3 tips on here, but can you maybe name one tip that you use at home to extend your food shelf life?
Right after you cook it, I mean, you put it in the fridge right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freezing things.
Yeah, freezing is great. I freeze everything.
Mm.
Then we can go to the next one. And so we'll start here. So sell-by, like I asked in that question, that indicates the date by which the store should sell the product for the best quality. That is not when it expires. So you're right, you could use it after that time that the sell-by date is used for, and we'll go over what PRC uses in a little bit. Then we have the best by and best before date. So that suggests, again, the date for the best flavor or quality, but still safe to consume after this date. Use by or expiration date suggests the last recommended date for use of product for peak quality or safety. As you can see, all those are really similar,
Mm-hmm.
except expires on. So that you'll most likely only encounter with any baby products or formula, and that's the only one the federal government actually regulates. So you should always use these products before the expiration date has passed, just because babies are really immunocompromised as well. We can go to the next one. So this is the FIFO for proper food storage. FIFO means first in, first out.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're going to use your earlier expiration dates first, right? It seems like common sense, but you know, we have cans and we shove them to the back and we keep. And then we look at it and it's like 2 years old, and it's like, oh, maybe I should have had it out or gone through my pantry. So this just helps keep the restaurant and homes organized. So you're using your fresh food first. It also helps reduce waste. I'm going to do a tiny activity right now. So I have 2 things of peaches. One is Best by September 5th, 2026, and one is Best by January 30th, 2024. So which one are we using first?
Better use the little one first.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, you just want to make sure you're storing it, you're putting it in front, so you're seeing it and you're using it first. Then we can go to the next one. This is temperature danger zone. So the danger zone is between 40 and 140 degrees. So leaving out food too long at these temperatures can cause bacteria to build up. You could get E. coli or salmonella, which are foodborne illnesses from that. And, you know, you just never want to have a stomach flu.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Growing up in Mexico, my formative years, we didn't have a fridge. We left the food out the whole day, overnight, and I hardly ever got sick.
Yeah, I mean,
Why is that? You build immunity?
Yeah.
to
I
it?
think so,
That's it.
and I think it's less processing too, like,
But even
Here
here, like
you can-
one of my cousins, just as an experiment, has been doing the same thing.
here, with like
Hardly
regular.
ever gets sick.
Yeah, because I get eggs from my cousin sometimes, and we never refrigerate them because you're
Huh.
not supposed to, and I've never gotten sick from that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it just
Your immune
keeps
system, I
them.
think. You
Yeah.
get used to it.
I mean,
You
I
get
think it's
used
a
to it.
different if you grow up that way, I think it also adjusts to that as well,
Right.
just because you're already used to it and you may not have the resources. And I think, I don't know, just the preservatives and stuff Americans use as well might affect that. I've heard like fruits in other countries like don't expire as fast, or they like taste different, so
Mhm.
that might be a part of it too. I could look into it more, but
I
Yeah.
have a friend that, like, an example, if he has a bag of spinach
mhm.
and it's got the expiration date, and if it's that date, he throws it out, he won't even eat it. And I thought, my God,
Yeah.
the money you're throwing away.
Yeah, personally, I go off the look, the smell.
Yeah.
Like
Good, good point.
obviously if
Yeah.
the spinach is wilting, I'm probably gonna toss it.
Right.
But if it's still
But
in the bag looking
Mm-hmm.
fresh,
if he don't use it, if it expires on the 20th, he'll throw it out on the 20th.
Yeah.
yeah, and
You
that's
don't
why
wanna
people
touch
gotta, learn about this. 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of people are wasting perfectly good food and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
just going to the
Like-
garbage.
I do the same thing. I get half and half, and it says, use after 7 days of opening. And I used to like listen to them. I'm like, I'm gonna try. I kept that in the fridge for 15 days after that. You smell it, it's fine, and here I am. So,
Yeah,
wow.
I think we get used to a lot of that stuff too, and especially milks. Like if they're not opened yet, they do last
Right.
longer than what it says, and as long as they're still refrigerated.
no, my
like-
stuff is open though.
Yeah, so
I mean, is it like, could it be I don't wanna,
well, it also depends too how long
Like-
you're leaving it out. Like if you're opening it and putting it on the counter for 2 hours and then putting it back
Right.
in the fridge, like that can cause more bacteria to
Yeah,
grow.
right.
Than if you're just like my mom does that. She'll have her coffee creamer on the counter for like an hour or two and then put it back. But like, I think if you're putting it back at a good time, or if you're like, actually using it, I think that also makes a difference, I guess, in that standpoint as well.
okay.
And we could go on, this next slide kind of talks about like leaving stuff out. So you shouldn't leave it out of refrigeration for over that 2-hour mark, just because it could build that bacteria. And then if it's above 90 degrees, it should not be left out more than an hour. A lot of people do this with like barbecues or cookouts. They like cook meat and then they leave it out. It's out there for like the rest of the night. And although you might not get sick out of it right away, you might, eventually a few days later feel something in your stomach.
Could it also be here than the US, the standards are super, like a little bit like high, and also too high? Could it be that too?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're going, because we're using standards from like the Illinois Food Bank, and they're saying things last longer than what it says. I think the government just regulates it, so I mean, there's less report of a foodborne illness based off of like these expiration dates, because you could just be like, oh, like this was dated wrong, but I didn't use it in time. It kind of blames it on yourself. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on.
One example. I saw this in Europe and in Mexico too. You go to the stores, and most of the Walmart and the big stores, even like National, they keep the eggs on shelves for weeks at a time. They're there.
Yeah, no,
Well,
they
once
It's
you
a-
refrigerate eggs, you have to keep them refrigerated.
I know that, but they don't. And people don't get sick. That's in
Well,
Europe
they
too.
probably don't refrigerate it after harvesting.
Oh, I know that, but so.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know,
even
just-
on here, like for our standards, we keep eggs up to 5 weeks after the date is actually.
yeah.
So, I mean, we do keep a lot of products
Right.
more than what it says on the US label.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think the same applies here. It just really depends on the product.
Mm.
And eggs are really good, like shelf stable, like especially even fresh eggs, like those last a really long time as
Yeah.
well. I think we're done with this one. We could go on the next one. This is just about storing in a refrigerator. So when you store in the refrigerator, you want to keep the highest cooking temperatures at the bottom. So that would be like your meats that have like bones in them. And then the ground stuff can go a little higher. And then obviously your prepackaged stuff or your processed meats, those could go above that. You just don't want anything like dripping onto anything else. And you should keep your refrigerator below 40 and your frozen stuff below 0. At PRC, we our fridge, if you haven't seen it, the eggs are on a whole separate side just because we don't want it to get crushed at all. We put our milk on one side just because they're heavier, and then anything else with the boxes, we want to make sure they have lids in case anything gets stacked on them. All our meats come frozen just to ensure that they're preserving the quality. So we just really try to pay attention to that here as well. We can go to the next one. And proper thawing, it's best to plan ahead and thaw in the refrigerator. I know we've all taken it out of the freezer and just thrown it on the counter until it's done. And you might have not got sick from that before, but just for safety, it's best if you plan ahead, you think about it, a day or two before and you have that out. The next safest way is to thaw it under water, so that would be just keeping it in a bag, running cold water until it's thawed. And the quickest way, but I guess it's not as effective as the other two, is microwave thawing. And that's only if you're going to use it right after that and cook it. And we just want to do that because it can get to, you may leave it on the counter and forget about it and not come back for hours, so you just don't want that bacteria to build up as well. And these are just some general tips to extend your shelf life, like how I asked earlier. So, like we said, freezing. You could freeze any meats, any breads. Fruit, it kind of depends on which one. I like to freeze bananas until, put them in a bag for smoothies. Or vegetables. That depends too. You might have to blanch some of them, but a lot of them freeze really well. Spinach freezes really well. Cheese, or anything you're not going to finish before it expires, I would put it in the freezer and take it out and thaw it before you're going to use it. But just making sure you're refrigerating certain fruits and vegetables when they're ripe so they don't over-ripen. Avocado is a good example of that. I leave mine out until they're a little soft. If I'm not going to use them that day, I'll put it in the fridge. It keeps at that same ripeness about. And then using your produce first. You want to do this because they do expire faster here, especially lettuce, herbs, berries. You just want to make sure that you're trying to use those items quicker because they do go bad faster, and sometimes the produce that we're getting here might already be a couple days older. We also want to toss any food that might have mold or looks off. This may seem common sense, but it could just really spread to other foods, and you just want to make sure you're checking what's in your fridge overall. And these are a little bit more specific, so we're going to go to fruits first. So berries should be refrigerated and not washed until you're ready to eat them. This is just because the moisture can hold onto them and cause that mold faster. And other fruits besides the berries, they should be left at room temperature until ripe, then refrigerated, like we said before. Basil should be left at room temperature. Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't know that until I started researching this, but it can actually cause it to wilt faster, and it should just be left in a cool, dry place. All other herbs, though, should be refrigerated, so your parsley, your cilantro.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that tomatoes, if you put them in the fridge, they lose their nutrients. Is that the case?
I have to look that up, actually.
Yeah.
I just heard that.
I heard that at the library at a talk they had.
I wonder if they do. I could look into that. That's interesting. But yeah, I just heard you're supposed to leave. I looked up. I shared the resource at the end, but Still Tasty. And yeah, they say that tomatoes you should leave out. I forgot why they said you shouldn't put them in the fridge, but I've always just kept my tomatoes out. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to it.
Ever since I just leave them out, ever since I heard that. I didn't look into it deeper. But
Yeah, I
leave
feel
them
like I
out.
kind of noticed that though. Like if I cut one open and I don't finish it and I leave it in there, I feel like it even loses the flavor it had before. I don't know if you guys have had the same experience, but yeah, I just feel like it doesn't.
It becomes mushy, in my opinion.
Yeah,
too.
it
Well,
kind of
that
gets
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just learned to eat it. I'm if I don't finish it, I just cut it up and eat it. 'Cause
Eat it right
it's
away,
not
yeah.
gonna be good
That's
the next day. For vegetables, this one I also just learned too. So onions and potatoes, they should be stored separately from each other because they can cause each other to go bad faster. And when I learned this, I was like, oh my gosh, that's why my onions and potatoes are sprouting. So I put them in the same place. But onions, tomatoes, oh yeah, we just went through this. Potatoes and garlic, they should be stored at room temperature. I didn't know about the garlic either. I think if you have it peeled, it should be in the fridge. But I think if it's in the shell and not peeled, it should still stay out.
Oh, I always refrigerate my garlic.
I
Dang, I did not know that.
But garlic will go bad too, so you gotta watch it.
Yeah,
And if it's not refrigerated.
yeah, you should. They say you shouldn't refrigerate it. Which I mean, it makes sense though, because at the grocery store, you never see the garlic in the fridge, right? It's always out on by the dry stuff.
I don't use much of it. We had so much garlic as a kid. I don't use it.
Yeah, I love garlic. I use it all the time. I mean, I feel like that also takes a while to go bad, but. And then if you're storing your vegetables directly next to fruit that produce ethylene gas, those can actually go bad quicker. Hello. Hello.
So
And
bananas
then,
are those apples?
So those would be like avocados, bananas, apples. So I don't know if you guys ever put anything next to a banana and it kind of got like the banana flavor on it, and it goes bad.
I never
Yeah.
refrigerate my bananas.
Vegetables, onions, and
No, they're not in
radish.
the refrigerator. They're just like bananas
Yeah.
you leave out. But sometimes if I have I don't know, something with a piece of bread next to it that's sitting there, it'll absorb the flavor and it's weird.
Really?
But what
it's-
I do though, no, I'm sorry, never mind.
No, you're good.
Potatoes stored at room temperature?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, why would you put them in the refrigerator?
I don't know.
Yeah, they go bad faster if they're in the fridge. They should
Onions
just be-
also?
Yeah, those onions and potatoes you should leave out in a cool, dry place. at
Really?
room temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only the other thing I learned about potatoes is that you should keep them away from the light, and every time they start turning greenish, that's a carcinogen.
They start turning what?
Greenish,
Really?
yeah, that you should not eat them.
Green,
And
huh?
this is a handout.
Oh, man.
And this is just a little, if you have any suggestions you think of for future nutrition classes throughout this, you could jot them down and give it to me at the end.
Yeah, so it's they say store them in a cool, dry place away from the light, and keep an eye on the greenish tone. And they said toss them if that's the case because
Green on
greenish,
potatoes is bad.
greenish. Yeah, it's like carcinogen.
Yeah,
I learned that in a
before.
cooking show.
But yeah, and then the onions and potatoes, they should be stored separately as well. We just went over that too. And those are all on, a lot of this should be on the handout as well, on that second page. But feel free if you
what
guys.
now? Sorry, Carl.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you didn't
Go ahead,
get
I'm
one.
sorry, I'm interrupting so much.
And yeah, if you guys need to take any pictures of this or want the slides at all, you can reach out to me as well.
This is really interesting.
Yeah, if you want, I could also share the slideshow if you have a good email to use, because I know you missed the first part, but. So first we have the Northern Illinois Food Bank Standards. This is where we get just an idea for our standards up here. See, as you can see, this does show that stuff is good past the sell-by date. This is what Illinois Food Bank Standard uses. So as you can see, milk, 5 to 7 days, cheese, 2 to 3 weeks, yogurt, 1 to 2 weeks, canned vegetables, 2 to 3 years. So there's, you could use a lot of your stuff past what the date says before it actually expires, as we were talking about earlier. And then you can see PRCs is the next one. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. This is what we use for when our volunteers go through our donations. Do you guys want to pass that down?
Can you go back to that other slide, the last one?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that just shows the Northern Illinois Food Bank Standards. They're a little bit broader than our standards. We try to keep the pure standards a little bit stricter just because we have so many volunteers and we get so many different donations. And we just kind of want it to be standardized.
Do you folks go through when you get stuff donated to you? Cause
Yes.
I've gotten some that were, I got a can that was over a year old.
Yes, so that's good. It depends on the item.
Okay, canned goods.
Canned goods, majority of the time they can last well over a year. So, each volunteer takes a look at the date, and
Okay.
if it's good, it gets set on top of the products that we are putting out for.
You have to be careful that the can isn't damaged, because once I bought a brand new container of yogurt, and it was within the date and everything. I opened it up and there was mold on top, so.
That's
So we
something
also-
that's refrigerated, and whoever was handling it probably never.
Oh, maybe it didn't
Put it
have
in
it
the
totally refrigerated the whole way through, yeah.
Yeah, so that's also one of the
Or
reasons
sometimes the
why-
can is like crushed or something and, you know.
that's
Well,
one
you
of the
could
reasons
tell
why we won't
because
accept
the
some
the
refrigerated
bottom
or
and
frozen
top would
locations.
swell up if it was bad in the can.
Yeah, all our volunteers, when we get our orders, they sort through every single thing we get. They use that sheet I just passed around.
Okay.
And yeah, we are pickier about accepting certain donations just because if we don't know the people giving us the donation, we don't know how it was stored or where it was in the time from the store to here. So we only go with brands that we trust. And
I
stores we
have
trust.
a glass jar of bone broth.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's past the date, and I wasn't sure, and bone broth is supposed to be really good for you and everything, and do you think it's still okay to?
Is it opened?
No, never been opened, it's in a glass jar. and-
Probably still good.
Yeah,
I think I would probably look for it through, there's a website link at the end, it's called stilltasty.com.
okay.
And they have a lot of good information if you're looking up specific things. I think that would just follow your regular broth, so I would think it's good if it's, less than a year, but I'm not sure because it's in a glass container if that makes a difference.
Well, I go to my brother's house, and I clean out he has a pantry, and it's really old stuff, and he has yogurt that's like years
Oh
old.
my God.
It's really
Yeah,
bad,
That's
so.
not, that's not okay.
Well, yogurt is kept in the refrigerator anyways.
I know, but it's
But
like
no, it shouldn't
years
be.
old. I
Yeah.
throw half of the
Yeah.
stuff out.
Yeah, that's why we have the standards, if it's a couple days for certain products, it's probably okay, but if it's years,
Yeah.
Yeah.
depending on what it is, it might not. I just wouldn't.
I'm
trust
cleaning
it.
out the
Maybe
other
the
house
next
too, and I have stuff from years ago.
I would just throw it right in the garbage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think about saving it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying, these are the PRC standards. So yeah, we are a little bit stricter. We try to keep canned goods only up for a year. We try to keep the eggs for 5 weeks, the milk for 7 days. Just because we get so many donations, we have a lot of volunteers, and we just want to keep them very, a little bit tighter on that date range. You could go to the next one. So we're towards the end. These are just some final tips and takeaways. So most expiration dates are made for the best quality of the product, not when they actually expire. Always throw away anything that may look discolored, smell off, has mold. Use the FIFO method. That's just first in, first out. So using the oldest expiration dates first. Prioritize using produce. Produce goes bad first usually, so we want to make sure we're using that up first before your canned goods and stuff that's more non-perishable. Also, any product you're not sure about how long it may last, I referenced this a few times, but I would use stilltasty.com to look it up, or just, there's a couple other websites out there that you could use in regard to dating, but that one is what Kaya referenced to me, and I really love it.
Stilltasty.com?
Yep. Yeah, I tried to write it on the bottom of some of these, but I'm not sure if I got through all of them. I kind of cut it off on my references. And then, here go this is a conclusion. So, although expiration dates of food storage may seem simple, it's always a good idea to review this information to ensure that food safety is being practiced in your homes. And then these is just going to be a quick activity. I don't have the best examples today just because it wasn't a regular order day, but potatoes. We talked about these a lot. How do we store potatoes that we went over?
Usually in a dark, dry place.
Okay, yeah.
And then if
And
Can
then
you store these things in a cellar, like in a basement?
Yeah.
That's a little
what I
cool
do.
and dark?
Yeah.
I put them in my.
Yeah, I keep mine in the basement
Yeah.
just because my kitchen gets a little hot from the sunlight
Mhm.
Okay.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's why I put my potatoes. And then also I want to keep them away from
Away from the
onions. And onions, same thing, a cool, dry place, but away from the potatoes because they can cause each other to go bad faster.
Okay.
And then avocados. Do you remember how we store avocados?
You shouldn't keep them in the bag, you should take them out.
Oh yeah,
And
these
put 'em
I
in-
gotta put these back
Oh,
in the
no, no,
pantry.
I just-
So that's why I have in the bag.
Put them in the refrigerator.
Yeah, you want to leave them out of the refrigerator until they get to the ripeness you want, and then you put them in the fridge,
Right.
and it helps keep that ripeness.
So
more
you leave
consistent.
them at room temperature, and then when you're ready to eat them, you put them in the fridge?
Yeah, you could either eat them when they're ripe, or if you don't think you're going to use them that day, or have a busy day, you could put them in the fridge, and they'll
I'm
keep
really
that
bad
ripeness.
about letting things go squishy and then I throw it
Yeah.
out. I don't know.
That's the thing. I mean, they're not going to, obviously, no produce is going to hold forever, you know. They're going to get bad at some point, but putting them in the fridge is going to help preserve them a little bit. So
How long do avocados last then?
I mean, it really depends what stage you're buying them at. I mean,
Oh.
obviously at the store, all avocado, I kind of go through all of them and squish them to see which
Yeah.
like consistency I want, or if I'm making something with them, I might get like one that's not as ripe if I'm using it a couple days later. So that just really depends on when you're going to use it, what you're using it for. But yeah, it just helps once they're ripe to put them in the fridge to make them last a little longer. I'd recommend even keeping them in the front of your shelf if you like think you're gonna forget about them, because I forget about my produce a lot, and then I'm like beating myself up because I had to throw out like a whole thing of cucumber, like whatever. So
How
Yeah.
many people need don't have put around the world? I go, by the way, go that route.
yeah,
Throwing money out
yeah.
the window.
I know, I bought a beautiful eggplant and then it went bad. I'm like, why did I even buy this
Did
stuff?
you put it in the refrigerator?
I did.
And it went bad in the refrigerator?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you forget about it long enough, it's gonna go bad either way. You're not gonna.
And then it got squishy, yeah.
Yeah,
Had to
we
be
all
in
do
there
it.
forever.
You can go to the next one.
I only made eggplant parmesan once and it took me like 4 hours, so I'm like,
You know, like with fruits and veggies, what I do is, and it makes me feel better about not wasting, is I get a compost bin and throw them in there. And, or if it's summer, I put them in the ground right away and then let them, disintegrate in the garden.
Oh,
That's a
good.
great way. Or, in the winter, I cut them up and throw them in my garden, just so that they disintegrate faster. And that, you're not wasting
Yeah,
anything,
I never
really.
tried the composting. I mean, I know some places like have like cities allow you to do composting, but
Well, they have
Never
machines you
tried
can
it.
buy now to compost it. Keep them on your
yeah.
counter
Well, we're
and
actually
grow.
composting at our Whedon location. They go through the donations, and if we get anything that's looking a little bad, then that we can't give out to clients, they just take off the stickers and they put them in. It's actually a really cool program.
That's a way of.
doesn't the composting heap bring like little mice or something?
Nah.
Well, ours gets picked up pretty regularly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we just started it, so we haven't experienced summer with it yet, but it's been pretty okay so far.
My auntie had like a huge garden in Wisconsin and she had a compost heap. So I remember that.
Yeah, I've never tried it, but I mean, I heard great things for gardens. It helps, it's really good for the plants.
And it's a lot of the microorganisms
Right.
and flies that you see that help break it down. So that's actually good to see those critters.
But then she was really experienced. She knew how to do canning of things,
Oh yeah, like
with
what
those
you said.
mason jars. She was like, oh. If you don't do that right, you could get sick if
Yeah,
you're
that can cause botulism. You could die.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we're just gonna go back to the same 3 questions we asked in the beginning. You should know the answers now. We went through all the info. So, and if you're having trouble, it should all be in that handout too.